The World Championship for professional drone racing teams returns to Romania, and welcome to the Drone Grand Prix of Salina, Turda, a beautiful city in Transylvania, no less, surrounded by wonderful rugged scenery, both above ground and under it. The World Championship, that is DCL, started our season over 2,000 meters above sea level, but this time we go down. That is a futuristic entrance to a 13th century salt mine that looks like this on the inside. It is 150 meters underground, salt everywhere, grain on the walls, stalactites hanging from the ceilings, as well with this incredible futuristic theme park that's been built in here, which we are borrowing for the next stop, and indeed our final location of the World Championships 2019 season. I'm Matt Andrews. This is the Drone Champions League.
The 2019 Drone Champions League launched in February when the world's best professional drone racing teams took part in the first ever DCL draft selection in Cannes. 58 international gamers qualified for selection by playing DCL the game. And after racing in head-to-head duels, 21 pilots were recruited for the new DCL season. The first race of 2019 was in Lax, Switzerland in March, where the defending champions, X-Blades Racing from Great Britain, made the perfect start, winning the first grand final against the USA's Quad Force 1. But the second final saw two new teams, Veloce Racing from Korea and Drone Sports from Russia, battling for victory, and Veloce came out on top. It was all changed at the second race in Turin, where another new team, Apex Racing from Denmark, hit top form. They won the grand final on Friday and again on Saturday, beating X-Blades on both days. Race 3 in Liechtenstein proved Apex were genuine title contenders in another thrilling contest against X-Blades. The Danes just lost out in a closely fought grand final on Friday, but had no answer to the champions' all-conquering performance on Saturday. The Britons remained the team to beat.
For a team who have won 2 previous World Championships, you can see how much every race means to them, and that team of X-Blades Racing are in pole position to pick it up a third time. Apex Racing in second can catch them, as can Drone Sports. But for Drone Sports, they need a lot of things to fall in their favour, not just a win for them, but things to happen to the other teams that are somewhat out of their hands. Veloce currently down in 4th from Korea, and then the Americans with their disappointing season in 5th. Down at the bottom, the China Dragons and the Japanese team, who are yet to score. This is our pit area, and this hangar belongs to Apex Racing. Timothy Trowbridge doing some last-minute soldering before the quarterfinals get underway. It's a very crowded pit area, and everybody's busily working on their drones. And of course, for this team, not too far away are the rivals at the top of the leaderboard. Over on the other side, eyeballs to eyeballs, X-Blades Racing in that pole position. Very relaxed team. Vince Irie, one of our guest pilots for Wild Prop, just joining in with them there. He's racing alongside some freestylers on our wildcard team, but X-Blades looking pretty relaxed, whereas Apex getting everything race ready. There are a lot of races to come, single heats and big heats. This is what you're facing with the DCL.
8 teams with 4 pilots per team compete in all DCL races. 7 teams are permanent, battling for the World Championship. 1 wildcard team is selected for each event and competes for a single race win. Qualifying is a series of time trials on the simulator, DCL the game. The times set by each team decide the draw for the race, run through the real track over 3 rounds, quarterfinals, semi-finals and the grand final. In each round, 2 teams go head-to-head over 5 runs. Runs 1 to 4 are called single heats, 1 pilot against another. The winner of each heat earns 1 point for their team. Heat 5 is known as the big heat, where all 8 team pilots fly, 4 against 4. The winners receive 1 point, with bonus points if pilots from the same team finish in consecutive positions in the top 4. The teams also score finisher points for completing heats and training rounds. These are important because they decide the winner of a heat if two teams are level on the same number of points. The team with the most points after 5 runs advances to the next round. Or if it's the final round, they win the Drone Grand Prix. The top 5 teams score points on a sliding scale from 250 to 80. Each location stages 2 races, so pilots can double up on maximum attack. And the team with the most points at the end of the season is crowned world champions.
Keeping an eye on all of our pilots as they fly in first-person view are a team of spotters behind the scenes reviewing everything that they do, and they're led by our chief judge on stage, Lucas Baumann. He'll be making sure that everybody keeps the track limits and make sure all the gates are passed. There are a lot of rules that our pilots have to adhere to.
Flying clean and fast is the dream in the Drone Champions League, but always following the rules. Rule 1. Teams design and build their own drones. Some parts are standard, but there are strict limits on weight, power, battery life and LED performance. Pilots have to wait for the green light before taking off. Start too soon and it's a red card, disqualification from the heat. If a drone doesn't start because of a technical problem, the pilot can use a spare. If that fails, it's a red card. Each airgate has to be passed in the correct order and in the right direction. If pilots miss a gate, they have to go back and try again before moving on to the next one. Continuing after missing a gate is a red card offence. If they crash, the pilots decide themselves if their drone is fit to continue. If all pilots crash in the heat, the one who flew furthest takes the point. The winner of the heat is the first drone through the Red Bull finish gate. The pilots are ranked according to their finishing times. Teams can protest during a heat if they feel a rule's been broken or wasn't applied correctly. If the chief judge upholds the protest, the team will get a rerun. If the case is rejected, no more protests are allowed. Penalty cards will be issued if rules are broken. A yellow card is a warning. 2 yellows add up to red and disqualification. 2 reds add up to a blue when a pilot is expelled from the race weekend.
The 13th century Salina Turda salt mine with our course all through it. Let's get a bit more up close and personal. The chief of Quad Force 1 will take us around the track.
So here we are at the start of the track. We're going to launch off the Drone Champions League start block. Coming to our first gate of the track. The DCL flag, making a 180-degree left-handed turn around it, into the face of the Breitling gate, exiting 180 degrees, wall riding the side of the salt mine into this elevated DCL gate, 20 feet off the ground, mounted to the side of the salt mine. One of my favorite places, feels like threading the needle. Into the next DCL flag, making a 90-degree right-handed turn to it, into the DCL Ferris wheel. We're gonna enter through the left 2 legs, have a small straightaway. We're gonna make a 180-degree turn to the right. You have to watch out for the Ferris wheel crates, as those will sneak out and get you. Trust me, I met a few in practice. But after we do that, we're gonna do a corkscrew around the right side of the Drone Champions League Ferris wheel. And after we exit this is coming up through one of the hottest parts on the track. Diving down. You can really see how deep down here we are. Once we make it all the way to the bottom of the huge drop, we're gonna do a split S into the backside of the I-time gate, taking advantage of the small straightaway, gaining a lot of speed for our 270-degree sweeper, the final object before we have a huge climb to the top and onto our next lap. The only thing that we're going to deviate on the 3rd lap is after we come out of the Drone Champions League Ferris wheel, instead of taking the big dive down to the salt mine, we're going to be racing for all the marbles, head-to-head racing, last-minute passes of the 2019 Drone Champions League season into the final gate, the Red Bull Crash Gate, where everything happens.
Our pilots qualify for our races through DCL The Game, our simulator with real-life representations of the tracks in it. And Veloce came out on top. As you can see, the timing's very close, just 0.2 of a second between them and Apex. And this is a collective time from all of their individual pilots added together. 16 of the 32 pilots will be racing, actually all qualified within 1 second of each other. That leads our bracket to look like this. We'll start off with the Americans of Quad Force 1 racing against Drone Sports from Russia. Then the best in qualifying, Veloce Racing, will take on our wild card team. X-Blades Racing will start their run towards securing the World Championship against the China Dragons. Apex will need to outscore X-Blades today to keep the World Championship fight going. And DMM Raiden Racing would love to get any points this season. So far, they've got nothing. They're in the fourth quarter final. But let us descend into Salina, Turda with this futuristic entrance and incredible architecture along the way, but in between and indeed everywhere around this wonderful, unbelievable and totally unique location. Takes a long time to get in there. This corridor alone stretches for 1 kilometer. You can turn, head down what is called the Staircase of the Rich before you make your way into the Rudolph Mine, where the racetrack is ahead of us. To the racing with Alex Campbell, Evan Turner, Soren Anderson, who's had a difficult start to today, and Corey Ibanez. Together, they are the American team of Quad Force 1.
Well, we're excited to be here. We got the fastest quads here, and we're going to show everyone what it means to win.
They would love to do that. We know they are incredible pilots, but technically they have had a very rough season. Let's see what they can bring into the air in Salina, Turda. Their opposition include Thomas Petersons, Konstantin Kosolopov, Platon Maximov, and young Pavel Leshak. Together, this team from Russia are Drone Sports.
This season we have brilliant pilots, Platon, Kostya, Pavel and Thomas. So I really wish good luck to our team. I really wish good luck to our competitors.
There's a lot of camaraderie between all of our teams, a lot of respect between them, and we had some fun with the Americans and Russians when they met at the start of the season. Let's see what we get here. Wrapped up from California is Corey Ibanez, and he will take off in the first single heat against Platon Maximov. We will do these 4 single heats with 1 pilot from each team racing against each other before we send all 8 of them into the air in the big heat.
Countdown.
So Corey Ibanez in blue on the right and Platon Maximov in red for Russia on the left. And it's a clean start to our racing as we head around this pylon and towards the Breitling Gate, and then we do another 180 and head towards the DCL Gate on the wall before descending under this Ferris wheel. It is a permanent attraction here in the Salina Turda salt mine, and we are using it for a very difficult set of gates. Corey Ibanez headed down towards that lake that you see there, that black salt lake, which is deadly for drones. He's not in the water though, so his drone won't be completely wrecked by that, but he is down on the island and unable to recover that. Platon Maximov still flying and is now being told that he can wrap that race up as Corey is out of it. So into the Red Bull finish gate goes Platon, and the first point of the Drone Grand Prix, Salina Turda, is in the Russians. Looking very happy and relaxed about that. Let's have a look here on board with Corey Ibanez. This is what he saw as he was flying and too low on the approach to the I-time gate. It's a split S. You dive down into this chamber, you fly over the top of it and then invert to come back through, and he was too low on the exit. Platon Maximov, however, was later found to have used too much power in this race. We have a limit on how much you can draw from the drones at any time, and he exceeded that, which meant he was actually red carded, and Corey Ibanez, despite crashing on the island, is in fact given the heat point there. So the first one is for the Americans, and now we have young Evan Turner going to race off for his team against Konstantin Kosolopov on the Russian side. Very serious, always very focused as a pilot. Evan Turner usually with a smile on his face, but their season's been rough. They have been unable to fly in a number of events, just having drones that weren't ready to go. A lot of technical failures, trying some innovative things which backfired. Let's see if Turner takes to the sky against Kosolopov. And he does, and it is 1/100th of a second in reaction time between the two of them. Brilliant start by both of those pilots, and Turner extends it into a little bit of a lead over Kosolopov under the wheel, doing a big turn and then a tight second one. Now we dive. This is a 40-meter descent to that I-time gate, and that is a salt lake all around this island. There are boats and nets down there ready to recover anything, but so far nobody in the water. 8 drones went in there in 2017, however. Now Evan Turner starts onto the second lap, and Kosolopov is starting to turn up the speed, but he's clipped him on the back of the wheel, and that has sent Kosolopov high and a long way way behind. Now he's trying to recover that and keep it airborne. It is important to finish a race, even if you're not the outright winner of it. As you can see, he's still flying, and in fact, he's gone back to do a whole section of the course again. Maybe he's worried that he missed those gates. Maybe that was on his mind. He now descends into the mine, whereas Evan Turner is coming home. A clear second point for Quad Force 1, and that one's not under contention. And here's Kosolopov continuing to fly around over the lake. Those finisher points matter when it comes down to determining either who goes through from a heat if they're tied on heat points, or which of the teams coming out of all of the quarterfinals is 5th place and picks up 80 points for the season. Whereas if you come out of the other quarterfinals in 6th, 7th or 8th place, due to the finisher points, you don't score anything. Drone Sports, remember, this Russian team with Kosolopov finding the finish gate there, they are in 3rd in our leaderboard and mathematically can make it to be the world champions. So they need to get everything done today. Here he is again. That's the route through the Breitling Gate and then towards the wall of the DCL. And this is where he started to turn up that speed and gain on Evan Turner, but clipped the hurdle there. That's one of our canopies which stretches across the course. You fly over the one that you can see on the left of the screen. Kosolopov decided to just take it down. That'll get put back up. You fly over that one, but under this one, Evan Turner. That's intentional to make sure that we try and avoid mid-airs between drones as one is entering the wheel and another one exiting from it. But the hurdle took him out. He did manage to keep it flying. That finish point could very well be very important to them. That's one of the benefits of flying in a chamber which is 120 meters from top to bottom, is you've got plenty of height to recover from. The hurdle goes back up. And we await single heat number 3, where the chief, Alex Campbell, is going to try and score a point for his team, and it's been a personally disappointing season for him. All of them have had these technical issues, but when he has been racing, it's not been showing us the very best of what he can do. Thomas Petersons from Latvia is his opponent in single heat number 3. Two very focused competitors. It is a lot more smiles and energy on the American side of things and a lot more business-like on the Russian side of things in all of the events we do. Now it's race time for Campbell and Petersons. Into the air they'll fly, and Campbell with a 10th of a second ahead of Petersons in reactions, but a slower exit already. Petersons has passed him to the wheel. There's not much between them there. It's a tight inside line for Alex Campbell. Thomas Petersons is diving down. Campbell not too far behind him. The I-time gate isn't an issue for either of them. Then they swing round the seating area down there on the island and start back up for lap number 2. The pylon, not a problem. The Breitling gate, Campbell is down there. It looked a little bit twitchy just before the Breitling gate, and he came down onto the ground. He's managed to get that back up into the air, but Petersons is a long way ahead now, cleanly around the island, and will scream his way back up into what we call the Rudolph Mine, this upper chamber, through the Breitling Gate again, and Campbell has come down. That is down and finished. Did get the recovery, but not enough to see out the rest of the race. Petersons pulls that one in, so that is a point now for the Russians. 2 for Quad Force 1, 1 for Drone Sport. Another single heat where they can get a point, and we'll find out what happens there shortly. But let's go back on board with Alex Campbell, and we see he's got Thomas Petersons ahead of him. And again, this is the FPV, first-person view. That is exactly what they see and what they are flying with. And a bit of a brutal crash down onto the ground, but that's the one that he did manage to recover from. Drone never really flying cleanly after that, though, and it was all over a few seconds later, much to his surprise. Now, Soren Andersen was the next pilot to fly for Quad Force 1, but a bit of drama here, as all of the team picked up 1 yellow card each this morning for missing the pilot briefing. Soren Andersen then in practice this morning picked up a second after unsafe flying. His drone crashed on a practice run. There's a certain amount of time in which you have to get that back in the air if you're going to. He exceeded that, then tried to recover it. That's unsafe, and he got another yellow. So he's disqualified from this heat with a red for there. But this man, Pavel Leshak, is taking the news very well that the point he should have just been handed isn't his, as he has also been disqualified for flying earlier with too much power. So there's no point in single heat number 4, which means we go into the big heat with Quad Force 1 in a very unusual 2-1 lead. Drone Sports have got to come in first here to even it up. First and second will guarantee them into the semis. Away they all fly, and Pavel Leshak is not letting that DQ in a single heat get to him as he came out of the blocks in 0.03 of a second. But it seems that a couple of the drones have come together So we descend down into the mine, a red one in the lead in the hands of Thomas Petersons. There's another one behind him. Out of the mine there and towards the turn. Evan Turner's lights out on that blue drone. He's still fighting around with Petersons. He's ahead of him on the wall here. Petersons completes his turn over the amphitheater and has got to chase down a drone he can barely see. Turner is descending, Petersons with him. Turner in trouble now though. Petersons and Kosolopov have the island to themselves. One with lights, one without. There's still Alex Campbell flying in the background for Quad Force 1. But an unlit red drone is going over the amphitheater and a teammate with him. This could be a first and second for Drone Sports, which is exactly what they need. One of their teammates is down on the ground in front of the gate. Two of them are in. Looking like it's going to be 2 points for Drone Sports, but Kosolopov is refusing the fist bump there. He's annoyed with himself. He gets disqualified from that heat. There's a racing drone for the red of the Russians, which doesn't actually finish. They only pick up one. That gives us a 2-all situation after a big heat. The finisher points are what are going to split them, and before we get to that, we ride on board with Pavel Leshak, who's a little bit too low. Tried to flip it up. A little bit too much there. That Breitling gate wiped him out. That was early on in lap number 1. Here's a look at two teammates getting very close together. Soren Anderson also getting very close to a blue one as well. Finisher points. Those are required from completing your runs in training today and the racing. And as you can see, Drone Sports finished 11 of them compared to Quad Force 1. So close for Quad Force 1, but not enough. Drone Sports are in the semi-finals. What an amazing first quarterfinal, and for this season of Quad Force 1, they just really need to get later into the events, and they keep going out in the quarters, and that one is going to hurt them. Not technical failure this time. Such a close battle. Now will come Veloce Racing against our new wildcard team, and for the first time, we've got freestylers.
So the wildcard team is primarily freestyle pilots.
On my team is Tommy, oh my god, we've got Andres from Spain, Andrew, and Benoit Finky from France.
1, 2, 3.
It's a challenge because I don't usually race, I only do freestyle, so it's quite a different concept of flying.
I'm here again in Salina, Turda, and I actually won with IRC Racing in 2017.
First thing that's very different for us is that we have to make certain obstacles and that we have to pass these in a specific order.
Freestyle, typically you want to slow down and kind of show off your scenery. Yeah, buddy.
And we're always looking for those clean lines to make awesome video.
But with racing, it's like the complete opposite. You just want to get from point A to point B as fast as you can, high camera tilt, full throttle, and just go, 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 go.
In freestyle, it's more about flow and making it look pretty. Here, it's all about being efficient.
Okay. Well, let's not get the freestyle part twisted here. Just because we like to go slow doesn't mean we're not competitive. Definitely, we're going to try and come out here and bring our A game and see if we can take down some of these fast guys.
Either way, win or lose, we're gonna have a blast.
I'm super excited to race here. It's quite an amazing scenery.
I love it, man. Drone racing has really become a part of my life, and I enjoy every single moment of it.
DCL's in its third year. All the kinks seems like it's worked out, and now it's truly about the racing, the pilots, and the epic courses. And I mean, as you can see here, this is probably one of the most epic courses I've ever seen in my life.
Young Roxsun is accompanied by Min-chan Kim, young 10-year-old Min-jae Kim, and returning to the Veloce lineups, Youngmin Go. They're our Korean team of Veloce Racing.
Hi, this is AJ. Hey, Jedi. Hey, Jedi. Hey, what's you behind your back? Yeah, what is that? I can see it. That's a fear, looks like it. Fear. Fear to us, you know? Hey, man, will be your last race today, okay? Okay, that's it, my turn, okay.
We love him. He always gives us great fun on stage. The team he's talking about: Andre Aguilera, Tommy Tibahua, Benoit Fink, all new to the DCL, and returning Vince Irie, who's raced in both of our previous seasons. Together, our wildcard team of Wild Prop.
What's up, guys? We're the wildcard team. We're the content creator team, and we are here to have fun. No, we're not stressed out. We're not scared, HJ. We are just having fun. And I see you guys are all comfortably sitting, but we're going to stand like real men. So I challenge your pilots to stand, because we are not in our comfort zone because we freestyle. And you are in your comfort zone because you race. So I challenge you. Are you going to stand up or sit down?
That's what it comes down to then. Standing or sitting? Well, I'm standing, Vince, if that makes you happy. Now, Veloce and Wild Prop. Let's see what happens here. Experienced team of Korean pilots, experienced team of freestylers. This man, Benoit Fink, he has literally never raced ever. This will be his first ever drone race. He's a very skilled freestyler. He was the last pilot in qualifying after he didn't put any time in on the simulator either. What can he do here against Young Rock Sun? Well, it turns out Benoit has to wait for his first ever drone race, as his drone is dead on the blocks, lights out, doesn't feature. So let's go for the second heat. Xiaomin Go has Tommy Tibahua. And a slow start for Tommy continues into a slow race. Xiaomin Go isn't going to hang around, and he'll make it 2 for Veloce. Min Jae Kim and Vince Irie. Now, this should be a real contest. There's only 500s between them out of the blocks. And Vince Irie raced here in 2017 and helped his team, which was IRC at the time. They won it with him flying. So he knows this venue very well, although this part of the course is different to 2017. Min Jae Kim still has a lead over him, though, as they exit the mine chamber. Or at least Min Jae Kim does. Vince Irie on this 40-meter climb is just not quite 40 meters of it and has hit just the top of the exit. 3-0 for Veloce going into this single heat, and for many people, MCK, Min Chan Kim, is the very best drone racing pilot in the world. Andre Aguilera never features against him in this single heat. He is absolutely left behind. MCK not only races away from him, but it's absolutely unheard of. He laps him in this race, which has never been done in DCL before. MCK makes it 4 out of 4 for Veloce, and now it's big heat time. Benoit Fink finally gets the drone into the air and takes part. Andre Aguilera just rolled off of the starting block and was dead before this thing started. And a lot of purple drones are leading the way here down towards the lake. MCK, Min Jae Kim, Young Rock Sun all charging into this. Vince Irie is in the fight too, leading his Wild Prop teammates. Eventually, though, it's purple at the front again. They come in first, they have second, they get a third. It is a whitewash against the green drones of Wild Prop. Min Jae Kim very happy with his team. MCK ready to go, and HJ congratulates all of his pilots. Disappointment for the Wild Prop side. But then some pilots of Veloce are DQ'd for power reasons, using power above our limit, getting them disqualified, as we saw earlier on in quarterfinal 1-2. However, one of them was still within limits. That is enough to get them a point out of the big heat. So 5-0 sees Veloce to race against Drone Sports in the semi-finals later on. But next up, China Dragons have to deal with the two-time reigning world champions. In 2017, they celebrated at Station Berlin as they won and tripped over a trophy and were our world champions then. That was our first team racing season. Then 2018 started in the Olympic Park in Munich, and that was how 2018 began for X-Blades, with another win and a bit of celebration afterwards that we'll never forget. They continued through 2018 with great competition along the way, but as it came to the end of the season, the big one was theirs again, that time in Rapperswil in Switzerland. Can they do it again in 2019? Well, Brett Collis is ready to fly with Gary Kent, Luc Bannister, and their brilliant French 14-year-old pilot Kylian Rousseau. Together, they are X-Blades Racing.
You know, every time, you know, the pilots have to be super focused. They've got to deliver. They've got to win each point and make sure that we get through to the next round. So we're just calmly going to focus and do our normal race game.
Well, their normal race game is pretty terrifying. The opposition for them start off with Dennis Hockman from Germany. He has Daniel Ayer returning to the team all the way from Australia. Ka-Kei Leung is back with Ronnie Chow, and together they are the China Dragons.
Well, we are so glad, Matt. Thank you for letting us welcome to this epic final season to the Romania. We're so ready to go with Dan. We're so glad to be here, and we're giving such a good performance. And yeah, we trained a lot the last days. We want to show our skill.
These are terrific pilots on both sides of the stage. But being a two-time reigning world champion will both play into the hands of X-Blades Racing and maybe into the minds of China Dragons. But it is nothing to lose time for them, as they are a long way down our leaderboard. Gary Kent is ready to lead his team towards maybe their third world championship title. It starts off with him racing against Ka-Kei Leung from China Dragons.
10 seconds countdown.
Gary Kent, extremely experienced throughout the season. We've not seen a lot from Ka-Kei Leung. He hasn't raced in all of the races in 2019. He first joined us as a wildcard pilot when we raced at the Great Wall of China in 2018, and he starts this single heat in the lead. Gary's caught him there, though, over the amphitheatre, and has got the lead into the wheel, but this is a really aggressive and attacking run from both of the pilots. Side by side, over the edge of the dive. Different approaches, both of them to the I-time gate. It looks shorter and quicker for Gary Kent, but the speed of Ka-Kei Leung gave him the lead. Now, though, on the second lap, we've got it real fight between these two. Out of the amphitheatre, Kent still in the lead here, but this is where Leung caught him on the wheel. Will go to the dive. There's a bit more of a gap between them. Through I-time and around here, and Leung is still slipping a little bit further behind now. He's got to close it here, and this was part of the course where he lost it to Gary. Let's see if he can close the gap. He's again in behind on the amphitheatre. It's the wheel where he's got to change it over, and he's hit the outside of the turn. Spirals to the ground from the wheel. Gary gets the point there, but it wasn't easy for him. Ka-Kei Leung was in that to almost the very end. It definitely wasn't easy for Gary. They both enjoyed that race, but Ka-Kei Leung's drone just so near to the end. Doesn't get a heat point or a finish point there. This is the look as he's come too wide there. Nothing really in it, as you can see, a tiny margin, but he clipped that outside of the turn. That spun his drone, and there is so much to hit there. So many structures and wires and gantries holding up the great big wheel in the middle of the Salina Turda mine. You can almost not fail to hit something around there. And after spiraling off the impact, he did. Now it is Luke Bannister against Ronnie Chow for the second single heat. Sometimes Ronnie Chow is here managing the team. Today he is flying for them. Very experienced pilot, has flown for them in previous races as well. This isn't new for him. But Luke Bannister, one of the most experienced we've ever seen in the DCL. Part of the team that won in 2017 and 2018. And when we did individual races in 2016, he won that championship for X-Blades as well. Luke Bannister then, currently three-time DCL world champion, the only person who can say that, as he won that individual series in 2016. He is comfortably ahead of Ronnie Chow now on the day when X-Blades could potentially wrap up the 2019 season and make him four-time champion. A big lead over Ronnie. The Breitling Gate not an issue for him. Ronnie now is attacking it and just getting through there as Bannister is completing nice, sweeping, smooth curves round the wheel. Let's see his dive to the I-time gate. It's clean, it's still fast. He's got so much time to spare. As he comes out, Ronnie Chow is on the way down, and the teammates on stage can tell these pilots how they're getting on, can let them know if the opponent is a long way behind or not. But Bannister may well have seen that Chow is a long way behind him as he made that turn and saw Chow maybe even half a lap behind now. Here's his route under the wheel into the finish gate. It's a time of 46.46 for Luke Bannister and some way behind for Ronnie Chow, who shrugs that one off. Really never got close to Luke Bannister, and Luke Bannister really never looked like he was slowing down. Now there is Brett Collis, a legendary pilot in DCL, Pilot of the Year in 2017, picking up the most wins of anybody for their team. Dennis Hockman from Germany needs to stop the X-Blades Racing push for the semi-finals. Now, China Dragons have to start pulling points back. They do not want to go into this big heat behind. They'd love it to be 2-2 at best. is what they can hope for. If they pick up the 2 points from these single heats, then 2-2 is where the big heat will
10 seconds
happen.
countdown.
But X-Blades, maybe they're going to push it to 3. Maybe they'll be 4-0 down when it gets there. Let's see what happens between Brett Collis and Dennis Hockman. And Collis is away in a better time than Hockman, which is unusual for him, as he tends to let his opponent go first and then pass them shortly afterwards. He doesn't want anything to do with any chance of a mid-air collision as they're coming off of the starting block, so that's how he always approaches the start of races. Here, though, he's in the lead throughout the whole thing so far. Dennis Hockman not too far behind him. Let's see what he can do on the rise up there. He's come out of it a lot higher than Brett, and it's a slow route round that pylon. He's only just made it, and in fact, he looks pretty lost after there. The Breitling Gate was a real problem for him. Brett has a big lead now around the island. He'll fly and take his way out of the chamber. I think Dennis has only just started going down into it. So Brett now, the Breitling Gate hears, and a very experienced team of X-Blades will be letting him know you can ease back a little bit, but I tell you what, a pilot like Brett, he doesn't always need to ease back. He is home in a good time with a lot of speed. It's 3 now for X-Blades. Here's Dennis's view. Hockman comes over the starting blocks and brings it in for a finisher point, but they don't need that. They've got to close that heat point deficit. 3-1 is the best they can hope for into the big heat, in which that means they'll have to come in first and second at minimum. But it's a huge challenge, and it's getting worse for them. Now Kilian Rousseau from France is going to race against Daniel Eyre from Australia, and Daniel Eyre was the #1 pilot in the DCL draft pick back in March when we were in Cannes, and a load of gamers who qualified for it through DCL the game, our simulator, they raced in Cannes to show the team owners what they could do, and then the team owners had free pick from them. China Dragons has the first pick in that draft. Daniel Eyre, that man there, was the first pilot they wanted out of everybody in the draft. He was the best, and he had been the best on the simulator for months up to that point. Now he's here racing for real, and away ahead of Kilian Rousseau, although Kilian's already got him. Past him through DCL on the wall and away round the amphitheatre, and very close to the inside of the wheel, Daniel Eyre, and in fact too close on the other side of it. He's gone extremely high, trying to keep that alive. But no, as you can see, a grimace on his face there. That race came to an end very early for him.
Pilot 4 into the
Kilian Rousseau being told by Lucas Baumann that he can bring that in, and that looks like it is 4-0. So that'll be a problem for China Dragons, as they have to do the unthinkable challenge of coming in first, second, third and fourth in a big heat to get all 5 points. But let's see on board with Daniel Eyre, who nearly crashed it there and did definitely crash it there. That's one of those beautiful spirals you get from a drone as it spirals upwards, outwards, and eventually came down in bad shape. Out of that race from that point on, but as you see, Kilian Rousseau got disqualified for exceeding power. This is happening to a few of our pilots here in the mine. So it is 3-1 now. Although Daniel Eyre crashed, Kilian Rousseau was disqualified. 3-1, and there is Richard telling his team, you've got this, don't worry about it. They're not trying to think of the World Championship. They're not trying to win today. In fact, he has told his team, you don't need to win the whole thing today. It's a team coming up later on who have got more pressure on them. Right now, Daniel Eyre breathes in, and his team look to turn 3-1 into a semi-final spot. First, second, got to be there, and then let's see what happens after that. It's away from the blocks for everybody. Brett Collis very slow out of those, doing his trademark thing of letting everybody else fly away first. Ronnie Chow is leading, and the hurdle has nearly tripped up somebody. But now it's looking blue and blue, but the orange drones are amongst them. China Dragons are giving X-Blades a fight here. It's Kilian Rousseau currently up front, the guy who was DQ'd just now, but he is leading this race. Ronnie Chow is in second, and then behind him it's everybody else for X-Blades. China Dragons still in the fight as we come out of the wheel and head down on the second lap to the mine. Still Rousseau in the lead. Still Ronnie Chow leading the charge for the China Dragons, but he's got blue drones all around him when he needs orange teammates over the amphitheatre, and he's passed there. Bannister's taking him on that last bit of the course, and in fact Rousseau and Bannister are in. Then it's Chow, then Kent. Collis finishes 2. That makes it 2 points for X-Blades. It had to be at least 2 for China Dragons. Bannister enjoying himself on stage with his boss there. X-Blades are in the semi-finals. Some drones are going to need some untangling for the orange team, but they won't be needing to race them again today as they're out in the quarters again. Here's Brett's view of his teammates ahead of him. That's early on in lap 1 as he was letting the race unfold before mixing it up when he needs to. But this is what you get from a World Championship team like X-Blades. They attack big heats to disrupt their opponents. They know they don't have to win it. They know they don't have to get 2, even though they did. They know they just have to stop their opponents getting all the points they need. This day, though, it looks like they quite fancy getting a few more wins for their record for the season as they make their way along to maybe lifting the big trophy. 5-1 for X-Blades over China Dragons. Dominant performance from them, as we really expected. Let's hear from Brett on our stage.
Yep, so far so good. This was our game plan. Obviously we did it cleanly as well. So yeah, on to the semi-finals and see where that ends up.
They've been like this in previous seasons. They don't talk about winning a world championship. They just talk about winning each race as it comes, which they do tend to do. Dane Grace with their new pilot, Mark Espuna, Timothy Trowbridge, and rounding out the lineup, of course, it is Eric Holden. These are Apex Racing, and the World Championship is on their minds.
Yes, of course, we want to win the World Championship. And to do that, we have to win today, so we're just going to push really hard to win. First, we're going to meet Raiden Racing. They have some really good new pilots, so it'll be a challenge, but we feel really confident in our pilots. So it'll be a good race.
They have a lot to be confident about as they've shown us great racing and many good contests with X-Blades too. Now we have Ben Mortensen back again. He's rejoined by his Australian friend Rudy Browning. Tomohiko Koyama, of course, is here with the team. Yasuyuki Harima together. These four are DMM Raiden Racing.
We are really looking for this match, so we don't have any point this season, so we really want to aim point, so we will win. Thank you.
As you can see, these pilots of Yucatera are looking pretty relaxed behind him on stage for a team who are last on our leaderboard with absolutely nothing. That's what they're playing for in our last races of the season. They just want to finish the season without that big 0 next to their name. Now, Timothy Trowbridge, on the other hand, he helped X-Blades lift the World Championship trophy in 2018, and now here with his new team, he'd love to take it from them this year. The first thing they got to do, start scoring points against DMM Raiden Racing, and it's Yasuyuki Harima, who's his opponent in single heat number 1.
10 seconds countdown.
The beautiful, perfect yellow Raiden Racing drone. It is absolutely immaculate, and look how good it looks there. Now we need to see how well it flies. Timothy Trowbridge and Harima, 0.04 of a second between them as they start this race. And Trowbridge starts to pull away there after Harima was very hesitant out of the Breitling exit. But now he's starting to attack that wheel. Had to remember to dive under the canopy there. That second hurdle nearly got him. He's low through the I-time gate, but quick. That's good. He's not too far behind Trowbridge. Let's see, though, whether those yellow drones have got enough lifting speed as they come out of the mine. Now Trowbridge is away on the second lap, and he's starting to extend that gap quite considerably. He is around the wheel, the first turn, the second turn, and Yasuyuki Harima is only just entering it, diving down Trowbridge, and he is slowed down somewhat considerably. Teammates on stage and the guys from Apex are not short of egging each other on and congratulating everything they do. They are clearly informing him here. You have a big lead over Yasuyuki Harima. You don't want to throw it away with any crashes right now. You can slow it down and get the job done. That's what he's done here, completing the turns, and home to the first point of quarterfinal 4 is his. It's a time of 58.52. That's over 10 seconds slower than some of the finish times we've seen. That gives you an example there of how much he slowed it down. That was tactical flying by the possible world champions. First point goes to them. Let's see what we can get here. Dane Grace is a terrific pilot for Apex. He has fun opposition on the other side of the stage with Tomohiko Koyama. He's only won 1 single heat this season. Needs to try and win his second one now and even the score. Away goes Dane Grace with a much bigger lead over Tomohiko Koyama. That reaction time, 2/10 and more between them. And it's already 3/4 of a second. Grace is leaving Koyama behind. Out of the wheel they both come. Grace through I-time. Koyama is having a look at it, but he's gone very badly on his approach. It's now over 4 seconds between them. Koyama lost a lot of that time at the I-time turn. You're supposed to split S, which is where we fly towards the gate, fly over it, invert, and then fly back out through it. So you have to come through it from the long side. Both pilots did that, but Dane Grace did it in one approach. Koyama took a second run at it, and that gap just grows and grows now. Dane Grace, I think we're seeing a little bit of what Timothy just did. He's slowing down a little bit. 6.32 seconds is a massive lead in drone racing. Into the wheel, he flies out of the second, tighter turn of it, and the Red Bull finish gate won't be a problem for him. That's done. A big, big lead. Leading into a win. Koyama gets the finisher point for his team. He's always relieved when he makes it home, which he has there. Very famous Japanese pilot, goes by the name of Sakusha, but it is 2 to the opposition right now. Now, can we get a third? Well, there's some pressure on this young man. Mark Spooner is in his first ever race for the DCL, and he came through the draft. He was picked by Apex in the DCL Cannes draft that we did earlier this year with all of these gamers, and he was the second pick for Apex.
10 seconds countdown.
His opposition, Rudy Browning, he is the current FAI World Champion. Raced it, won it in December 2018. The best in the world of the FAI individual competition, and Marcus Spooner has the lead over him. Through the wheel, that's nice and clean from both of these pilots. Marcus Spooner dealing very well currently with the pressure on his shoulders of racing on a real championship stage. They're together on the exit of I-Time. As Spooner has come down onto the island and Browning is still flying there. We get mid-airs in drone racing. It's nobody's fault. It's never intentional. It just happens. No penalty for that. Browning wraps that race up as the Spooner is staying on the island. That's a disappointing end to his first ever race in DCL, but he had the lead up until that point. Here's his view. A very quick attack on the dive down there. He really tilted that drone forwards, but that's where the two of them came together. Side by side on the exit of it. If Browning had come around and hit him from behind, I suspect Browning would have been the one that goes down. That tends to happen with the drone, which is behind or lower. Tends to be the props get damaged, and that's game over for them. Instead, that side-by-side crash didn't really affect Browning's drone, but Spooner's too low to the ground to have any chance to recover. Eric Holden against Ben Mortensen. Eric Holden, always ready to show us how he's feeling, roars himself to victory, or is incredibly infuriated with himself when it isn't his. Ben Mortensen looking super relaxed. He's raced in so many brilliant races this season. Let's see what he can do against Eric. See a very different approach to this race on this side. So we attack with 0.05 of a second from the relaxed Ben Mortensen. That's a brilliant reaction time. Eric Holden doesn't care, he passed him. Mortensen's passed him back. Out of the wheel we go. To the dive we go. It's not much in it between these drones. Holden, then Mortensen passes him again. We'll go around the wheel. It's still Mortensen. This is going to come down to very small margins. To the start of our second lap, Holden has got the lead. Keeping it for the moment. Mortensen is coming at you around the wheel. We saw him take the lead here. We know how brilliant he can do those turns. It's still Holden's, but the I-Time gate. Different approaches for him, and Mortensen turns a different approach in the speed. Takes the lead back. Holden's got it again. The Breitling gate won't be a problem for him. We hope we don't get a mid-air out of this, because this race is going to roll and roll and roll. So close here. So close to the finish. Holden and Mortensen practically in there at the same time. They're confident Holden has got it, and I think he has, but wow! Ben Mortensen had it at times, Holden had it at times. The heat point is the important moment, and it is yours, Eric Holden, but by almost nothing. So much respect between these two pilots. Absolutely fantastic encounter. Neither pilot giving an inch, and we saw the strengths of one in some parts of the course and the strengths of the other elsewhere. Mortensen turning long lines into great attacking speed. Holden turning just kind of brute aggression and never saying die. And with a terrific drone from Apex, there's Mortensen's view. Look how hard he attacked it. His view practically down to the ground as he tilts his drone as far forward as he can for maximum velocity. What a brilliant race from two brilliant pilots. One of the best we've ever seen.
Well, I had a lot of crazy 1 versus 1 hits in the previous tournaments, like in Turin and Vaduz, but I think this one is the most crazy one. I flew very well, but suddenly Ben Mortensen was in front of me and I just had to go all in. I was so happy I made that one. I was so nervous.
Good to hear him saying how he felt during and that. Yes, nerves are maybe on the minds of Apex, as it is them who have got to outrace X-Blades. They have to beat X-Blades. They have to score more points than X-Blades. So far, they're doing everything right. Now we go for big heat time. Raiden Racing are in that position of being a minimum of first and second before we look at everything else to determine who goes through to the semi-finals. First, second and third will take Apex out now and hand the World Championship to X-Blades. Ben Mortensen may well be doing just that. He's where he needs to be, up front, but he needs teammates to get up there with him. Holden has had a bit of trouble in this big heat. There are still plenty of orange drones in the air, but drones are spread out all over our track right now. Big gaps between everybody. Mortensen looks like he is lapping Dane Grace on the climb out of there. I think that white drone nearest to us is Dane Grace wrapping it up. He's gone into the finish gate and he is absolutely nowhere near the end of this race. Ben Mortensen is coming in now as the winner of that. In with a white drone is Timothy Trowbridge in second. That is going to be a point for DMM Raiden Racing, but not the two that they absolutely needed at minimum. So Apex make it to the semi-finals after some confusing flying from some of their pilots, and a great race again from Ben Mortensen here. This time he got the win, which he so nearly did in the single heat as well, and we will never forget that race. Here's his route around the wheel. That is what he's flying with. There's his route in there. He'll find Dane Grace for company, but there's no way Dane should have flown into the finish gate yet. 3-2 for Apex. They're in the semi-finals. And it's going to be a very interesting battle that we're going to see there in semi-final number 2. Here is how it is all lining up after our quarterfinals. Quad Force 1 fell to Drone Sports, Wild Prop fell to Veloce, so the teams from Korea and Russia meet in semi-final number 1. But then Apex have X-Blades in semi-final 2. The last 4 grand finals have been between Apex and X-Blades. Apex have to score more than X-Blades today. They have to beat them in that semi-final. That is the World Championship decider, potentially right there. And before we even get to that, the Koreans and the Russians are going to give us a thrilling contest in semi-final 1. Young Rock Sun will start it off against Platon Maximov. And it was Platon Maximov who was DQ'd in the quarterfinals for using too much power in there. Young Rock Sun had a pretty easy race. Of course, all of Veloce had pretty easy time of it, racing against Wild Prop, who didn't put up much of a fight. This man, though, Platon Maximov, he is going to give you a race to the finish. Son of Maximov. Maximov with half the reaction time of Young Rock Sun. And away we go. Purple in front. That's the Koreans. Red for Russia. Into the wheel. I said Maximov would give you a race all the way to the finish. I was wrong, as he is done. Young Rock Sun gets another easy race. He'll be told he can close this one out. Finding the Red Bull finish gate right now. And the first point is the Koreans. Is this their day? They are in 4th, behind Drone Sports in 3rd for the season. Platon Maximov gives his drone a wry smile there as it is in pieces on the ground. Crashed it really hard trying to chase down Young Rock Sun early on. It's about halfway through lap number 1 and he's way too wide on the exit of the wheel. You're going to see it up close and personal there, and that is in pieces everywhere in Salina Turda. Yeah, he felt that one. That's not getting fixed very quickly, if ever. Big crash for Platon. No danger of using too much power in that one. Xiaomin Go now has Konstantin Kosolopov for the 2nd point. Veloce have this chance right now to pass Drone Sports into 3rd for the World Championship season. Drone Sports could be world champions, but they absolutely have to win this entire race and more. There's Konstantin again in that what's becoming a sort of trademark deadpan face before the race. Xiaomin Go and Kosolopov away. And again, a Korean pilot passes the Russian one, and Kosolopov is already into the wall of the mine. He's hit the DCL gate that is hanging off the side of Salina Turda, and he's done. Xiaomin Go is going to get a very easy 2nd point for Veloce, and this is a disaster for Drone Sports. They are well capable of giving a fight to Veloce. We actually saw these two race in a final together on our first stop of the season when we were in Lax in Switzerland. In that, Veloce managed to do a brilliant job of winning it, but it was a really good contest between both teams. Here, this contest has not really yet got underway as Kosolopov was heading for the DCL gate and strangely went left and a bit more left and a bit too much left. Don't really know why he found himself on that side. It's a right-hand turn straight afterwards. That is uncharacteristic for him, and that race is done. We'll go to single heat number 3. We'll see Thomas Petersens from Latvia and the 10-year-old Min-Jae Kim, who picked up his first race of the season at our last stop when we were racing in Vaduz in Liechtenstein, the home of the Drone Champions League. So much delight on Min-Jae Kim. You could really see the emotion on his face when he finally got his first win for the team. Now he'd love to get a few more. He was so much more confident from that point on. Let's see what Thomas Petersens can do against him. Can we get a better competition from a red drone? It is ready to fly, lighting up the mine. Min-Jae Kim is the one he needs to pass and stay in front of.
10 seconds countdown.
It looks deadly. Ready to fight. And away, almost nothing between them off the blocks. Now Kim is on the heels of Petersen. So far it's a Russian lead. By this time in the other two heats they had already lost it to the purple drones. Will go towards the lake and it is still Petersens, but Kim not far behind. Half a second and has got him on the rise out of that. A much tighter turn on the exit of the island and a little bit of a collision there and it sent Kim down. They came together on the exit of the Breitling turn. Petersens managed to carry on straight ahead. Kim managed to carry on straight ahead, but downwards as well. He's hit the bottom of the DCL gate. That's cost him. That's done. Thomas Petersens gets a necessary point there. Coming out lucky of the mid-air. We'll see that again. This is Min-Jae Kim's view in purple as they both made it through there, but as he headed on his way back, they've come together and down goes Min-Jae, straight ahead goes Petersens. Seemingly no damage to that one. I think that's an example of what I mentioned earlier, where the drone that is behind or lower gets damage from a collision. If it wasn't his props, that sent him down, and actually props looking a little bit chipped in places there. If it wasn't that, it was just the downward impact of the crash sends him out of that. That's a point for the Russians. Now here's MCK. Min-Jae Kim looking to extend his team's lead over Pavel Leshak for Russia on the other side of the stage.
10 seconds countdown.
That's Leshak's drone. Back in our last stop of the season, he had to get a drone put together by another team in order to race in the semi-finals after they'd had so many crashes earlier on. Here he goes with Min-Jae Kim and 100th of a second between two really experienced pilots, but Leshak is gone.
Pilot 4 into the finish gate.
MCK gets handed one of the easiest wins he's ever got of the many, many wins he's had at a drone racing career. Leshak through the Breitling gate and never turned after that point. That's got to be a technical failure, which he seems to just be smiling off afterwards. It seems to be out of his hands. This is the start of the race. The pylon turn was good for both of them. MCK turns. There was a little bit of a turn from Leshak, but he went hard into the wall. It looks like this. There's the attack on the Breitling gate. Then he's already made the turn, and I think he may have clipped maybe a wire around there as well. He turned very early to try and come out of that really sharply. It wasn't going to be a smooth turn for him. It's going to be more of a kind of stop and go. It was a spin from that point on into the wall, and that drone finishes there. Breitling gate giving us a lot of action, a few mid-airs around here. It's a difficult turn. All of that part of the course was as it was in 2017, but a number of these pilots weren't there then. So Min-Jae Kim gets that final single heat point and gives his team a 3-1 lead over Drone Sports. So we're in this situation yet again. Drone Sports this time are the team who have to come in first and second. They've got to get at least 2 heat points and they need more than that. If you look at the bottom corner, you'll see Veloce Racing have 18 finisher points. Drone Sports only got 12. So they cannot go through with a tie on heat points and then letting finisher points settle it. That means Drone Sports have got to come in first and second and third now.
10 seconds countdown.
Everybody's very tense here. Big intake and exhale of breath for Xiongmin Go. The purple drones light up, the red ones leave. Everybody's gone within a third of a second. That's a fantastic start. And it is purple and red everywhere around the wheel. We'll come out of that. Petersons is the only one who's down already. There's a lot of drone action yet to come. From the island and the climb, 2 purple drones and a red one between them. Then we go through Breitling and some more mid-airs are happening. Now it is looking predominantly Veloce everywhere. Maximov is out, Leshak is out, Petersons is out. We've got the 2 Kims racing ahead in the big heats and a big lead here. They are spread out nicely around the mine. Minchang Kim is coming for the wheel. He's not slowing down anytime soon. Under the hurdle and home. That is a win for Veloce. It's making it at least 4-1. We'll call it 5-1. Maybe it's 6-1. It is all Veloce coming in here. The Russians are done for today. Veloce are going to pass Drone Sports in the World Championship season. That is going to put them up in a podium contending positions. Chances of this team winning the World Championship, that is out of their hands now. But third, maybe even second, it could be possible. Drones down on the ground, still lighting up in red, but the race day is over for that team. Here's Pavel Leshak's view coming out of the lower part of the mine, around the pylon, and it goes down at that point. Petersons has got drones everywhere around him here. Has managed to make it through that gate, has to adjust a little bit to make the pylon turn. Gets past there and hits the inside of the wheel. Drones in all directions, some of that down. Veloce get to the grand finals. And that's a 2-1 history for them over Drone Sports now. Veloce haven't been in a grand final since that time. So they await the winner of semi-final number 2. In our preparation area, getting ready for this. A large crew, of course, working on a World Championship race. But there are 4 pilots and a technical director on a stage. Apex Racing. On the other side, 4 pilots and their manager, X-Blades. Now, these teams have met in 4 grand finals this season. 2 of them were won by X-Blades. 2 of them were won by Apex. Here and now, Apex have to be the winners. If X-Blades outscore Apex, it's done. They are the, again, world champions. Apex have got to score more than X-Blades to keep this season alive. They meet in the semi-final. It is like the last 4 grand finals. It could be our world championship final. Gary Kent, looking like he did in the quarterfinals. Their team owner Richard has done everything he can to take the pressure off of them. Timothy Trowbridge and his team, it's on you to beat them. These used to be teammates, 100th of a second between them out of the blocks. So good on reaction times, all of our pilots here in Salina, Turda. Here's the route through the wheel and together. And they're down. Trowbridge is down. Kent is down now. Look how near they are. And Trowbridge is fighting with his drone to get that back in the air. Kent seems to be back in the race. There he goes. Trowbridge is trying to activate turtle mode, where you turn a drone which is facing down to the ground and upside down. You can roll it the right way up and then you can take off. But under the wheel, there's not a lot of room to get it done. And it twitched and it tried and it failed. Kent still flying his, doesn't seem to have taken any damage. It's a point for X-Blades. Not how he'd like to win that one. I know he'd enjoy a really good race against Timothy Trowbridge. But they came together under the wheel. And if they both stayed on the ground, that point actually might have been Trowbridge's. Here they come around the first part of the turn and then in through the side of the wheel and together, both down onto the ground. And if neither of them are recovered, if neither of them continue from that point, the one who is furthest along the racing line wins. And Kent goes down. And Trowbridge was definitely ahead of him when he landed too. Kent comes back down to the ground behind Trowbridge. Trowbridge moved ahead with turtle mode and Kent flew away. All right, X-Blades, a little bit closer to the big trophy. Dane Grace has Luke Bannister to contend with, 2 brilliant young pilots. Dane Grace, though, problems in his big heat in the quarterfinal earlier on. He got lapped and ended up just coming into the finish gate, washing his hands of that big heat completely.
10 seconds countdown.
Luke Bannister knows how to win a race or 2 or many or 4 world championships potentially. He's already got 3 DCL titles to his name. He's won another World Championship too. Away we go. Bannister and Grace. Bannister hard into that DCL gate. That's a surprise from such an experienced pilot. What's not a surprise is the fact that he's turning that crash into a real attack on Dane. Started to close that gap, but he's hit the I-time gate, and unbelievably, still flying, although he might have to go back and make sure he completes that turn, which has given Grace a 6 and a bit second lead over him now, and he'll come through the wheel and out of that as Bannister is a long way behind, but still flying. That drone is pretty robust, that Dragonfly X-Blades drone. Dane Grace is out of the lower chamber around the pylon turn. To Breitling he goes. That is the gate that Bannister crashed into on lap 1. It's not been a problem for many pilots. It's not a problem for Dane Grace. The wheel isn't either. He'll come in now. There's 15 seconds between him and Bannister. Bannister, as you'd expect from a pilot like him, no intention of slowing down even when the race is long away. He looks pleased to have finished it. You can understand that from a team as experienced as them, because that drone took a couple of big hits. He's just relieved to get there at all. Turned it a little bit to the right to try and make that turn, but the momentum he had took him into the DCL gates. As you see, a very quick recovery, though. Not far after that, it was immediately back in Luke's control. And then he attacked on the dive and nearly had Grace there. He was so close to him. He gave it what he should do. Attacked that dive, tried to turn the split S to his advantage, just hit the bottom of the item gate. If he hadn't clipped him there, I think he would have beaten Grace before they'd even flown back out of that chamber. It's 1-1, and now as Spooner, whose race was cut short earlier on, has Brett Collis to contend with. Brett Collis helped his team win in 2017 when he was Pilot of the Year, no less. Helped his team win in 2018. Marcus Spooner, second pick for Apex in the DCL draft earlier this year, and the first time we've seen him race for real in the DCL. Couldn't really get a bigger contrast between two of our pilots. And Collis is ahead of a Spooner from the beginning. Now, what can a Spooner do here? They've got such great drones, such brilliant speed, and a Spooner is not showing any fear in his first time at the DCL, regardless of who he faces, even when it's an opponent as well known and as prestigious as Brett Collis. But he's got some work to do as that gap is 3/4 of a second and getting longer, and a Spooner's come down, fighting on the salt to get that back into the air. Collis is going for the second lap, down diving into the mine. Spooner not saying die just yet. He's back up in the air and he's heading down, but his race is all but over. Collis, big lead over the amphitheatre. The wheel surely not going to be an issue for him. Under the hurdle, clean, not hanging around to the end. Collis gets the lead now for X-Blades, back over Apex. It was 1-0, then 1-1. Now it is 2-1. And the pressure continues to build on this side. Eric Holden is warming his hands, as he always does. And you heard him say earlier on how nervous he was. Well, let's hope that doesn't affect the big challenge that's looming. There goes the Spooner down onto the salt. Hit the top of the Breitling gate. That's an unusual position to have crashed into that, taking a lot of speed. That turned into altitude and a little bit too much of it. So Eric Holden has Killian Rousseau for single heat number 4. This is it now. This needs to be a big win for Eric. And he didn't buckle to the pressure that Ben Mortensen put him under in the quarterfinals when we had that unbelievably close race between them. One of the closest we've had all season. Can Killian Rousseau give him that much of a fight or more? Away we go. Holden with the better of the two starts, and Rousseau is definitely capable of giving him a fight. But you saw Holden with that fury in which he won his quarterfinal single heat earlier on. Is that now giving him even more confidence to attack Salina Turda? Well, Rousseau is with him as they climb back out of the mine around the pylon turn. And we'll go through Breitling side by side, coming together, and Holden is now behind. He had to do the recovery there. It didn't look like it affected Rousseau's drone very much, and now Holden is in a position we've seen him in before. He is deadly when he is trying to close the gap down. Never, ever say die, Eric Holden. The Breitling gate is here, and Holden is still attacking, but the gap's not getting any smaller. It shows you how fast Rousseau is flying. He's keeping ahead of him. Will go under the hurdle. 1, 2. They're both home. Holden closed the gap by 0.6 of a second, but there's still 0.6 of a second to go. Rousseau makes X-Blades even closer to the World Championship trophy. There is one heat remaining for Apex's dreams. They've got to stop them. And Eric Holden here was held back a little bit. No finger's going to be pointed at anyone for that crash. It just happens in drone racing. Killian came in. Holden had kind of stalled on the exit of the turn to try and make a faster way from it. And Killian came in. X-Blades 3-1. It's another 3-1 entry into a big heat. This time, it's the two-time, near three-time reigning world champions in the lead. Apex have got to be first and second. And if we look at the finisher points again, Apex are 4 of them behind. It's not going to matter. Apex have got to be first and second and third, or X-Blades beat them and are the world champions again. It is now. It has to all happen now. You've got to beat X-Blades and second and third. It's all got to be white. It's all got to be the Scandinavian team. They can do it. There's the owner of X-Blades just checking in with Chief Judge Lucas Baumann. He's trying to keep that pressure off of his team. Trying to make sure they know they don't have to win it today. You've just got to stop Apex. And this is what X-Blades do tactically as a team. Interfere with their opposition's plans. Apex have got to be first, second, and third. All X-Blades have got to do is get third. That'll do. One pilot in third. Everyone else could finish for X-Blades. It won't matter. So let's fly. It may be the World Championship decider already this season, and Apex have got to do it. Dane Grace is out there. Eric Holden, Marcus Spooner, Apex pilots all racing at the front. It's white in first, but blues are starting to take it from them. Second is Luke Bannister. Grace is in third now, and a couple of collisions, a couple of problems, a couple of crash drones. The leaders have gone, but second place is gone. It was white and blue. It's still white and blue in different hands. Holden, Collis, Spooner's still up there in third. Trowbridge still fighting this thing out too. You've got to come first, second and third. And they've lost one. And they've lost 2 pilots. They've got to get a recovery. And they've got to turn a miracle around as Brett Collis is now in the lead. One more turn for him. The Red Bull finish gate is his. And the World Championship is theirs. They have got it. They beat Apex in a semi-final. It is now impossible for Apex to catch them anywhere the rest of this season or anybody else. X-Blades do it again. And here in Salina, Turda, they secure the 3rd World Championship in a row. They won it in 2017 in the first year of our team season. They won it in 2018 again. Now they win it in 2019. Luke Bannister's still unplugging all his gear. He won it in 2016 when it was just individual pilots when he was racing for X-Blades. Every year of the DCL has been won in the name of X-Blades Racing. Absolutely unstoppable. Brett's View under the wheel with a World Championship turn. And this moment secures it again. 3-time World Champion Brett Collis. And yet again he lets out a roar, but it's not even in a grand final of a day this time. It's the race that secures the title.
Amazing. So, I mean, it was going 3-1 into the big heat, but it was all to play for. I could see drones ahead of me, just wanted to take the win. Yeah, incredible. Can't believe we've done it.
It's nowhere close to sinking in right now. That trophy gets to be theirs again, known as X-Blades in 2017 and 18. This team back as X-Blades, back to lift the trophy. 4-1 is how they'll send Apex out of this race. And today, and the World Championship, they'll now fight for second, and that isn't entirely in their hands. More racing to come on that. Veloce made it to the grand final earlier on, and X-Blades will get a race a little bit more. knowing that the season that they came to retain has been done. But here in the pit area, look, it's not celebration time. It's just business as usual. You would never know that these pilots have just secured a World Championship title. They've still got racing to do. This is how they look all the time. No sign of any difference, no sign of any relaxing. Quads have got to get ready to fly. Veloce are their opponents, waiting for them as X-Blades return to our stage. Walking first via our preparation area and check-in. They hand in their drones for the race, telling us which one of them they want to fly in their single heat, which one of them they want to fly in their big heat. And then everybody walks onto the stage and takes places. And there's a lot of love between these teams. HJ, who owns and runs Veloce Racing, used to work with X-Blades when they were X-Blades in the 2017 season. Young Rock's son, who is HJ's son, he used to race for X-Blades. He used to have teammates on the other side of that stage. So there's so much respect, and if HJ is going to race against a team like X-Blades in a grand final, he will be pleased inside that they've lifted the World Championship again. Although at the start of this season, we really thought Veloce had every chance of doing it. It's been a good season for him, and they will move up to third, being in this final. But first, Young Rock's son faces Gary Kent, old teammates, for the first single heat of our grand final. Good starts, away we go. It's light blue for X-Blades. The purple one was a Veloce drone. They're both down and staying there. So we get this moment where we have to measure who got furthest. And it looks to me like Gary Kent is to the left of the Breitling gates. But I think Young Rock's son continued through it. Gary's is upside down, still lights on, but turtle mode is not working for him. He can't get any life out of that. And the Veloce drone is definitely ahead of it on the Breitling turn there. Richard, the owner of X-Blades, going to get involved in the investigation just to make sure everything is to his liking, even if the result of this isn't going to be. Looking pretty conclusive that Young Rock's son got further than Gary. Here's a look at it as he saw it. Gary made the turn, and just coming together as Gary tried to turn left a little bit for the Breitling entry. Just came across the path. That's where they come together. Props get tangled. Young Rock's son went through, hit the gantry immediately after it. That drone's going to be in bad shape. Gary, however, came into a collision with the Breitling gate, so that won't take as much damage, but it is nevertheless stopped.
We had a mid-air, both pilots crashed. Pilot number 1 got further along the racing line, so it's 1-0 for Veloce Racing.
Pilot number 1 is Young Rock's son. That confirms for certain what we all thought. He claps, he's pleased, he's got a point, he's got a lead over X-Blades in a final. Sean-Min Go will take up for second heat number 2. Luke Bannister will race again here, knowing in his mind he's now 4-time DCL champion. That 2016 season was where we only had individuals racing instead of teams, but he was racing under the name of X-Blades, as Nextblades then. And we only did a race in Reuter in Australia around an abandoned castle, and here in Salina, Turda in 2016. Luke Bannister was the best pilot of that year, and since then has helped X-Blades win title after title. Sean-Min Go would just like to beat him right now and has a lead away from him. Here's where Bannister crashed earlier on. They were very close through that gate to the roar of the crowd here, and they are too close under the wheel. We're getting another turtle mode moment. It is Go who's recovered, and Bannister is lights out. There's a big cheer from the fans and the other pilots here as Veloce are going to extend their lead over the new world champions.
Into the finish gate.
Go's being told it's all yours. Home he goes, a roar, I think, from Quad Force 1 watching this on. 2-0, Veloce. X-Blades' little party for today is getting spoiled. Here's Luke under the wheel on the first turn, and then the second one, it's another mid-air, I think. And there's a lot to crash into there, as we saw earlier on today. Yep, coming together. One goes left, one goes right, one goes back up, one stays down. Xiaomingo having a good look for that finish. He wanted to make sure he found it. He had time to do so as Bannister was already out, but nevertheless playing it safe and making sure he's there. Just about managed to pull off that fist bump too. Now here's a really exciting encounter. Min-Jae Kim and Brett Collis. Both pilots who can deliver whenever they need to. Min-Jae Kim feeling a little bit of the cold. Brett Collis perhaps feeling a little bit of the cold as well. It's all serious on his face. There's no showboating here. There's no sign of the pressure being off of them. They still want to win everything they're in, of course. That's how you get to be such a multiple-time world champion. The Dragonfly spins and lights up so beautifully. Min-Jae Kim with a much better start from Brett. Maybe Brett let him do that. We've talked about it before. Brett took the lead. Kim's got the lead back again. Brett's with him. This is going to roll and roll. Side-by-side air sharing out of the gates. Big difference in the approaches. Kim comes in one way. Collis comes in the other way. They both carried speed. Didn't really separate either of them. Collis has got a lead now. It's half a second. Will it get any bigger? I don't think Kim will make that easy for him. I spoke too soon. Kim hits the wheel. He's got it the right way up. That may well be recovered. That may well get flying as it does. But there's not a lot of this race left for Kim to turn that into a fight against Collis. Through the wheel. Collis has been here before, and the last time he flew it, he won a world championship there. And he's got it again. Kim is home too. Big gap between them now, of course, after that crash. But he's in. He should be pleased with that. It was a great battle up until this moment. I think that's the hurdle that you need to go over. And it was. He did get over it. He'll be disappointed with that. We're not seeing the beautifully happy face of Min-Jae Kim that we saw in Vaduz when he got his first win of the season, and the emotion was there for all to see. A 10-year-old pilot with so brilliant heritage, so great for his age, really showed us that he can win races in Vaduz, and he's put up some great fights today. Nevertheless, might be part of a team lifting a trophy at the end of it, as though he lost his single heat. His team is still 2-1 in the lead, and Min-Jae Kim may well extend that. Kylian Rousseau needs to stop MCK. Quietly awaiting the battle that it's going to fight. Armed, ready to fly. Rousseau launches. Kim was half his reaction time ahead. Kim goes. Rousseau tries to keep up with him. He's capable of doing it. But you know what? On a good day, MCK is capable of leaving everyone behind. It's almost a second already. MCK has absolutely dominated here in Salina, Turda. Neither of these pilots were in our 2017 season. This is their first time racing underground in Romania. But Min-Jae Kim is well and truly at home. Rousseau's got him in his sights, but the gap's not getting any smaller. Eye time is done for both of them. It's now 1.36 seconds, and Kim already out of the mine, heading through Breitling like he does this each and every day, like he's flown here all his life. Through the wheel once, out on the second turn of it. Kylian starting to enter it, and Kim is home already. 44.4, 46.05 for Kylian Rousseau is also one of the best times we've ever seen here. MCK already in, already finished. 3-1 for Veloce. Here we are again. A team 3-1 behind, only this time it is X-Blades who've got to do the catching up. HJ telling his team to get ready, but there's an investigation going on, and there's some drama before the big heat, which changes it.
We have a disqualification in single heat number 2. Pilot number 2 is disqualified for exceeding the power limit, so the overall score is 2 versus 2.
That's Xiongmin Go, who raced against Luke Bannister in single heat number 2. Too much power for him. So he's DQ'd, and Luke Bannister gets that point. That evens it up. It's not a 3-1 situation. It's just a winner takes it all time. X-Blades with that World Championship trophy going to be theirs at the end of the season. Can they get yet another win in 2019? Right here and now. Can Veloce do it? They haven't been in a final since our first stop of the season when we were above a mountain, 2,252 meters above sea level in Lax in Switzerland. Here, 150 meters underground in Romania. Can they get another win this season, and can they do it over the world champions? Whoever makes it to the finish gate first takes their team to be the best of today. Drones flickering into life and getting ready. X-Blades all lit. Veloce coming to life.
10 seconds countdown.
It's a scary sight for any drone racer to see that X-Blades drone ready to take off. The final heat of the Drone Grand Prix. Salina Turda. Winner takes all. Everybody flies. One of the blue ones, though, straight into the amphitheater, and one of Veloce straight into the wall after that. 6 of them still competing here. Into the wheel, out of the wheel, down over the lake. It is blue, blue, purple, purple, and blue. And we've lost another one, I think, into the water. Not many have gone into there today. 2 blues, 2 purples, one of them down. It's now 2 for X-Blades, and Veloce are a long way behind. The dive towards the lake, looking like it is going to be X-Blades' day. All the way to the end, there's still a Veloce fight coming at this, but up front here, first and second, don't take each other out. They're always told as a team, they always plan as a team to give a lot of room between each other in a big heat. Not here though, clearly giving it everything they've got. I think it's Rousseau who wins it, and Collis who comes in second behind him. That was really showing us what they can do when the pressure is off and when they can show us their skills, and when it didn't really matter if they took each other out. They wouldn't have liked to have lost the final, but the day is absolutely theirs, and the final with it. A bit of carnage earlier on as both teams lost a pilot quite early. That one hit 3 things before, well, seemed to hover like it. I want some more. Kylian Rousseau's route around the final turns, with Brett Collis all over the back of him. 1 and 2. Their result in the final, 4-2. Veloce could have taken it from them. Great battle between 2 such experienced teams, but Veloce fell. And X-Blades get the maximum points today, 250 to them. Veloce, the runners up with 220. Apex, they're coming out of this in third with 200 points. Of course, X-Blades have beat them in the championship. Let's hear from them.
Yeah, we did. I mean, just huge congratulations to the team, to Brett, to Killian, to Gary, to Luke. Huge amount of hard work behind the scene, but more importantly, just the focus and the concentration when on the track. These guys have done brilliantly well. It's amazing to be here for a 3rd year running, and you know, we're loving it. It's been a great day.
Proof there of X-Blades' dominance in 2019. Apex have all but secured second. Veloce are 240 behind them. It is possible for Veloce to take second. They've passed Drone Sports today. Drone Sports will like to take that place back from them, but they're not coming onto the podium here. Apex in 3rd place of the Drone Grand Prix, Salina Turda, and they are presented their trophy by Herbert Weirater, the CEO and founder of the Drone Champions League. They're looking happy with their performance. Veloce a step happier again as they've come in runners-up here. Good to see them back in a final before the season ended. I'm sure we'll see many more of that in the future for the Koreans. And securing yet another win to their name and their incredible history. Champions of the Drone Grand Prix, Salina Turda, and of the DCL for 2019, X-Blades Racing. And as always, it gets messy in the middle, particularly if you're Brett Collis. He does always seem to get the targets. Yet again, the UK win. 3 out of 3. The World Championship goes with X-Blades Racing after a thrilling day here in the Salina Turda salt mine. Our thanks to everybody in Romania for welcoming us back here for the 3rd time. And our thanks to you for watching the Drone Champions League. An incredible day's racing and an incredible season. And yet again, X-Blades are the DCL World Champions.